Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This time, we're taking a quick but hopefully insightful look at Visio developers. You know, those folks who make those super helpful diagrams and charts.
Yeah, exactly. Visualizing information, it's pretty important stuff.
It really is. So this deep dive is for anyone who's maybe thought about bringing a Visio developer on board, but isn't quite sure where to start.
Right. There can be a lot of questions like, what do these developers actually do all day?
And how do you even know if you need one?
Absolutely.
Well, good news is we've teamed up with the awesome folks over at theperfectdeveloper.com.
Yep. They're the experts on, well, finding the perfect developer.
Exactly. And they've given us some great insights for this deep dive. So anyone listening who's already thinking, all right, I need to find a Visio developer now.
Head over to theperfectdeveloper.com and check out their 5 questions tool.
Yeah, it's a fantastic way to kind of get the ball rolling. But first, let's break down the basics here. What does a Visio developer actually do?
You know, it's more than just making pretty charts and diagrams.
Right, there's got to be more to it.
They're like translators almost.
Translators.
Yeah. They take these like really complex ideas, processes, data, stuff that would make your head spin just looking at it, and they turn it into visuals that actually make sense.
Okay, so they're making the complicated stuff, well, uncomplicated.
Exactly. Like, imagine, have you ever tried to make sense of a huge spreadsheet?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Nightmare, right? A Visio developer could take all that data, all those numbers, and create like an interactive dashboard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, where you could see like trends and patterns instantly.
So instead of just rows and columns, you'd get like charts and graphs that tell a story.
Exactly. That's what a good Visio developer does. They make the data tell a story.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, how is that different from other types of developers? Don't they all just, code?
Well, yeah, coding's a big part of it, but Visio developers, they have this unique blend of skills, you know? So they need that technical side for sure. They work with things like VBA scripting within Visio.
VBA scripting, so it's not like regular coding languages.
It's a bit specialized, yeah. They use it to automate tasks, make those visualizations interactive, stuff like that.
Okay, interesting. So how would that automation actually benefit someone? Like, what's a real world example?
Oh, tons of examples. Think about like an organization chart for a company.
Yeah, those can get pretty complex.
Right. And every time someone joins or leaves, you got to update the whole thing manually. Nightmare. But a Visio developer could write a script that pulls data directly from your HR system.
So it updates automatically.
Boom! No more manual updates, saves a ton of time.
Okay, I'm starting to see how powerful this can be. So if someone's listening and they're thinking, all right, I need to hire one of these Visio wizards, what are the top skills they should be looking for?
Well, obviously, being proficient in Visio itself is a must.
Right. That goes without saying.
But beyond that, you want someone with strong data visualization skills.
So it's not just about making things look pretty. It's about making the data actually mean something.
You got it. It's got to be both. Aesthetically pleasing and insightful.
Okay, so how do you spot those data visualization skills? Like, what should someone be looking for?
Well, a good Visio developer can take, say, a bunch of raw sales data and turn it into something like a heat map, you know?
A heat map.
Yeah, so you can instantly see which regions are performing well, which ones need attention, all that.
So they're making the data actionable.
Exactly.
That's super helpful. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the money part.
Oh, yes, the budget.
Yeah, because hiring a developer, it's an investment, right?
It is, definitely. And like any investment, you want to make sure you're getting a good return.
Exactly. So can you give us a ballpark figure? Like, what's the average salary for a Visio developer?
Well, it can really vary, you know.
Yeah.
Depends on experience, location, the complexity of the project, all that.
Sure.
But just to give you an idea, in the US, you're probably looking at somewhere between, say, 60,000 to 90,000 a year.
Okay, so a pretty decent range there.
Yeah. And that's for full time, of course.
Right. And speaking of that, what about different hiring models? I mean, you don't always need someone full-time, right?
Nope, not at all. You've got options, you know.
Like what?
Well, you could go full time, like we said,
Okay.
or part time, maybe, or you could bring on a freelancer just for a specific project,
Oh, right.
or even, you know, outsource the whole thing.
So many choices. How do you know which one's right for you?
Good question. Actually, theperfectdeveloper.com, they have a a really great breakdown on their site.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it walks you through the pros and cons of each model.
So you can kind of figure out which one fits your needs and budget the best.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, so let's say you figured out the hiring model, you've got some candidates lined up. How do you how do you really assess their skills? I mean, a resume only tells you so much, right?
Yeah, resumes can be a little misleading sometimes.
Yo.
So, yeah, you look at their portfolio, obviously, you
Hmm.
do interviews, ask them, the right questions.
Right.
But the best way, the gold standard, really, is a practical test.
A test. Okay, like what kind of test are we talking about here?
Well, you give them a real world scenario. Maybe
Yeah.
you have some messy data that needs to be visualized,
Mm.
or a complex process that needs a clear diagram.
Yeah, something that they would actually be doing if you hired them.
Exactly. And you watch how they approach the problem, how
Okay.
they think, what kind of solution they come up with.
So you're not just looking at the end result, but the process too.
Yeah, the process is super important. You want to see how they translate those technical skills into a visual solution.
Gotcha. What are some of the things you're looking for in those results?
Well, first off, attention to detail, that's huge.
Hmm.
You want to see that they can communicate information clearly,
Yeah.
visually, and of course, you want to make sure that their solution actually solves the problem.
Yeah, it's got to be practical, not just pretty.
Exactly. The
Mhm.
test, it reveals a lot about their true abilities.
Okay, that's a really great tip. Now, besides Visio itself, what other tools or skills should a good Visio developer have?
Well, obviously, being comfortable with the whole Microsoft Office suite is kind of essential,
Yeah, especially Excel, right?
right? Excel, PowerPoint, all that.
For data manipulation and
Yeah,
presenting the visualizations.
exactly. But here's something that might surprise you.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
A lot of really good Visio developers, they also have database skills.
Database skills,
Really?
like SQL and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. SQL, other database languages.
That's not something I would have expected.
I know, right? It might seem a little out of left field,
Yeah.
but when you think about it, it makes sense.
How so?
Well, a lot of modern visualizations, they're data driven, right?
Right.
So let's say you want to create a live dashboard that tracks key performance indicators.
Okay.
Your Visio developer might need to pull that information from a database
Oh, I see.
in real time to keep the visualization accurate and up to date.
So they're not just designing static images, they're connecting to the source of the data.
Yeah, and making it dynamic.
So the visualization is constantly evolving as the data changes.
That's right. It's like a diagram that tells a story, but the story is always unfolding.
That's pretty amazing and probably a bit intimidating if you're not familiar with databases yourself.
It can be, yeah. But that's why it's so valuable to have a Visio developer who does have those skills.
They can really take your visualizations to the next level.
Absolutely.
It sounds like finding the right Visio developer can be quite a challenge.
It can be. There are definitely some common pitfalls to avoid.
Oh no, pitfalls. Like what?
Oh, there are a few, yeah. Luckily, theperfectdeveloper.com has a whole section on their site about this stuff.
Oh, perfect. So what are some of these pitfalls, for people who are just starting their search for a Visio developer?
Well, one of the biggest ones is not giving candidates a real technical test.
So not just taking their word for it that they're a Visio expert.
Exactly. Like seeing someone's portfolio is great.
Yeah.
But a practical test, that's where you really see what they can do.
Yeah. It's like the difference between reading a cookbook and actually watching someone bake a cake, right?
Exactly. You get a much better sense of their true abilities.
So how do you come up with a good practical test? Any tips there?
Yeah, I mean, try to make it as real world as possible.
Mhm.
Give them a problem that you've actually faced or something that you might need them to solve if you hired them.
Makes sense. What about other pitfalls?
Well, another common one is thinking too short term.
Right.
Like if you only need Visio help for a one-off project, then maybe a freelancer is fine. But if you think you're going to need diagrams and visualizations on an ongoing basis,
Hmm.
then it might be worth investing in a full-time or even part-time employee.
Yeah. Because then they can really get to know your company, your needs, all that.
Exactly. They become part of the team.
Okay, so you've found your Visio All-Star, you've avoided the pitfalls, everything's going great. How do you keep them happy? keep them from moving on to the next shiny opportunity?
The million-dollar question, right?
Right. So
Yeah.
what's the secret? Is it all about this salary?
Well, salary's important, of course,
Yeah.
but it's not the only thing.
What else matters?
Well, professional development, that's huge, you know?
Okay.
Like send them to conferences, let them take courses,
Mm.
encourage them to learn new skills, new
So
techniques.
they feel like they're growing. They're not just stuck doing the same thing day after day.
Exactly. Show them that you're invested in their growth.
And then they'll be more likely to stick around to be invested in your company's success.
Makes sense, right?
Absolutely. Anything else?
Oh, and don't forget a little appreciation.
Oh, right. Like a pat on the back, a good job every now and then.
Yeah. Visio developers, they often work behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
but their contributions are super important.
They really are.
They help everyone understand complex information.
Right.
So let them know that their work is valued, that it makes a difference.
Yeah, that can go a long way.
It really can.
Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about here.
Yeah, hopefully it's been helpful.
If you're looking for more in-depth info, more guidance on finding the perfect Visio developer, definitely head over to theperfectdeveloper.com.
Yep. They've got tons of resources, articles, all sorts of stuff.
And don't forget to try their 5 questions tool. It's a game changer. All right, well, that's it for our mini deep dive into the world of Visio developers. Whether you're trying to map out a simple process or build a super complex data dashboard, there's a Visio developer out there who can help bring your vision to life.
Absolutely.
So check out theperfectdeveloper.com, unlock your project's potential, and until next time, happy diagramming.